pH has nothing to do with healing in the body. It's nonsense. The stomach acid will change that pH in a second.
So now this water then goes to my gut.
Well, first it goes to your stomach, and that's important that we say that because 70% of your immune function is tied to the bacteria in your gut. If we were to do an EEG on someone's head, you would see plasticity change. In other words, the flexibility of the brain in 3 to 5 minutes.
Wow.
So within 2 weeks of drinking the water, people that have gluten and dairy intolerance can eat gluten and dairy typically without any inflammatory response.
So look, I'm so excited to have you here. I know we did a deal with you at Echo.
Yeah.
On the water, and I just want to talk about why this works and the whole alternative healthcare space. How long have you been in the space?
Over 35 years in natural medicine.
Yeah. What
is this good for where I am? Okay.
What drew you to it?
Well, I've always been natural. Growing up, I got kicked in soccer, and my groin split.
Oh, wow.
And I got home and my dad.
Who was it? Who kicked you, man?
Some kid, and doing soccer,
Okay. It was accidental.
Yeah, exactly.
So they kicked me on purpose.
Yeah. So I get home, I'm like, oh, Mom, this doesn't feel right. And she goes, oh my gosh, you're split open. And she calls my dad. He comes home, puts me on the table, puts the sheet up, numbs me up, stitches me up. And
at home.
That was medicine to me.
Was your dad a doctor?
He's a PA.
What's a PA?
Physician assistant.
Okay,
so they do more than the doctors, but don't get
got
paid as much, right? So the reality is, to me, that was medicine, is you just handle it at home. You know? We were not the typical family because my mother was from Canada. And so she cooked a meal every day. We didn't have box food and whatever. So it's a bit different because they didn't use your typical medications and stuff. They were always
homeopathic alternative,
kind of like that, like not even homeopathic,
home remedies.
Yeah. Get some sleep. If you start feeling sick, go to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So today, what are you doing now?
So I make products that prevent disease models. That's my passion, is to prevent disease. Once you contract a disease, it's a lot harder to get rid of it. Let's prevent it from happening.
Right. And so how much of that, to the audience that's listening, like my mom used to say, well, look, you're just going to get sick. You're going to get sick. But I was brought up like you. She was cooking meals, real foods.
Yeah. So sickness is normal, but not all the time. Like I might get sick once a year. And it's good for immune function to get sick because it's like working out, right? Your immune function does need that. But if someone's getting sick all the time, it's either their immune function is low, their gut is off, something, or they're just not doing what they need to do to keep their body where it needs to be, because we should not be sick all the time. That's for sure.
Yeah. And we are. Our culture's sick.
For sure.
I saw something recently about one Diet Coke a day or one Coke a day ends up being in a 1 month period, like hundreds of pounds of sugar.
Yeah.
Now
over a year, yeah,
even over 1 month,
wow.
It was it was a bag full of sugar. It was very impressive to think about.
It's
all
like a
that.
full cup, right? In a bottle of a soda, any soda mostly. Maybe ginger ale doesn't have as much, but it's like a cup of sugar.
And I grew up on that, dude. I was drinking 3 and 4 of those a day. I just didn't know anything.
Yeah, we never drank soda. That was like a treat. Yeah.
So where are we in America today? And then I want to talk about the different products you're working on.
Well, I think we're leading in disease models. We're leading in disease models. We're leading in
not in solution models.
That's right. We're leading in chronic disease. That's what I would use the word is chronic disease. America is leading the way.
Yeah.
And as they adopt our ways, they start having
as other countries.
Yeah.
Yeah, and why do you think that is? Is it intentional? Is it incompetence? It's hard to believe it's incompetence when we have so much intelligence.
Well, and absolutely, we're a country full of brilliant people, but our system has a very different model. Our medical system does not have any prevention built into it. Period. There is not an ounce of prevention. It's all about managing sickness. That's what it's there for. And it's funny, years ago, there was a show on HBO that the guy jokingly said, there's no money in dead people And there's no money in healthy people. There's only money in the middle with the so-called healthy people. That's where the money is.
So as we extend life,
Yeah.
because people are like, oh yeah,
If they're sick.
science has helped
Yeah.
because we've extended life. I'm like, yeah, but the quality of the life.
Yeah. Like, are you aches and pains? You know the saying, like, you got to stretch before you get out of bed, and all, all these things that people say as they get old. Well, that's not what we should be experiencing. We should not be getting sick. We should easily be able to live to old age with zero issues, really. But it takes. When I did when I became an ND, a doctor of naturopathy, I did my paper. You always have your paper. You got to do your thesis, and I did it on longevity. And instead of just looking up all the crap that people talk about when we talk about longevity, I reviewed the information from 4,000 centenarians. So, okay, if we're going to talk about longevity, let's talk about people who lived past 100. Because what else matters? If you're 60 talking about longevity, what does your opinion matter? You haven't made it to longevity.
Right.
If you're over 100, I'll look at your stuff. So
that's fair.
Yeah, we looked at 4,000 centenarians. And
there's 4,000 people that lived beyond 100 on record.
Correct. Well, there's more than that. But at that time, I was looking at a study that had been done. And so of those 4,000 individuals, there were only 4 things that I found that were in common. And one of them mattered. The rest was still an anomaly. There was no religion that was the same. There was no food or diet. There was
no whether it was vegan or meat or
no, it didn't matter. It make a hill of beans a difference. They were all like, you got to have ice cream every day. This one you got to drink every day. This one you got to smoke every day. This one you got to have coffee every day. They were all over the place. But the one thing that was the same as their gut bacteria was intact. So I have always felt that having your intestinal tract or your gut working properly is the number one indicator of whether or not you're going to have longevity or not, period.
So, and how do you get your gut? When you're talking about your gut, you're talking about the stomach.
No, the intestinal tract, small and large intestine. That's your
just large.
Well, large is most important. Small is important too.
But why is the large more important?
That's where digestion is occurring.
Okay, and the small does what?
Small gets stuff prepared, right? It's like a stomach.
Small's first?
After the stomach, after duodenum.
Stomach, small.
And then large. Yes. So, or what we call the colon.
Okay.
Right? So, stomach prepares. You get stomach acid that starts to break food down, goes to the duodenum or duodenum into the small intestine. You continue, and then it hits the large intestine. That's where fermentation, that's where digestion, that's where all the bacteria. And if we look at our body, most of your bacteria is in your gut, 1,000 times more than anywhere else in the body, right? So that bacteria is so important for what we call your immune. 70% of your immune function is tied to the bacteria in your gut. Your personality, whether you have anxiety and depression, whether you have a great outlook on life, it's all the bacteria in your gut.
Wow.
Your food cravings are the bacteria in the gut. What they can process is what they want. So here you have food cravings based on the bacteria in your gut, and people have no idea that relationship. They think, oh, I just like potato chips, or I like sugar and carbs.
I'm addicted to sugar. Whatever.
Right. It's because you have aerobic bacteria, not anaerobic. For example, anaerobic bacteria wants fat and fiber. That's what they process. Aerobic wants sugar and carbs. So it just comes down to bacteria in the gut, really. And
so when you did the study on the 4,000 people, how did you find out that they had similar bacteria or?
In the study that I was reviewing, it was a study that happened done. I didn't have anything to do with the study. I was just reviewing the data, and they had tested them all to see
their bacteria.
Yes. So they saw they have an intact gut. And really what it takes to have your gut intact is the electrical potential in the tissue of the gut. So bacteria likes an environment, just like we like an environment, right?
Yeah.
We want to live in a home that fits whatever we think it should fit.
Yeah, everybody getting along.
Yeah. And bacteria wants an environment that they can thrive in. They can create communities. They can do just like we do. And so that is electrical. So we need an electrical potential for those bacteria to thrive and live. If we take overuse of antibiotics, for example, it changes that terrain. It changes the electrical potential to a positive electrical potential. Now you have the environment for aerobic bacteria versus anaerobic, for example. And you don't. 96 to 99% of the bacteria in the gut should be anaerobic.
Anaerobic.
Correct. And that's for fatty acids, fiber, like short chain and medium chain fatty acids, and fiber is what our body wants. Well, when we think about
I don't know what a short chain chain amino acid is.
No, fatty acid. So
fatty acid.
It's fat and fiber is what our gut wants. That's what anaerobic microflora. So if we look at what is fat and
fiber? Assume I know nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. What is a fat? What is a fat then? Is that a steak? Is that okay? And then what is the
fiber? Is vegetables and right? Like you think about fiber. What foods would grow on the earth? Definitely not sugar and carbohydrates.
Right.
Typically are not growing. You're not growing pasta, even though we're
not growing pasta.
Well, pasta doesn't grow, right? You got to make
manufactured.
Pasta. That's right.
Yeah. Potatoes
are natural. That's a starch. Right. So foods that are naturally occurring typically fall in that fatty and fiber. That's what our body can do, because there are bacteria in your gut that convert fiber into hydrogen gas, for example. We should be producing 10 to 12, this is a rough estimate, but 10 to 12 liters of hydrogen gas per day. We should have flatulence.
10 to 12 liters
of hydrogen gas. So out the tailpipe of our body, just like a car has a tailpipe and waste goes out there. When you make energy out of fuel, our body does the same thing. We ferment things, and so you're going to create gases.
Yeah.
And out the tailpipe of our body, we have methane, we have hydrogen. The hydrogen is what matters to us.
You want gas.
That's right. We should be farting.
Yeah. That's crazy, dude. That's insane.
And, people are
I've
like,
never heard that before.
I don't fart. And you're like, you're not healthy.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. If you don't fart,
so people should be proud farters.
That's right.
Yeah.
Therapeutic.
So is that tied to why the water's so important?
Well, we should be producing hydrogen naturally because hydrogen reduces oxidative stress and inflammation. That's what hydrogen's primary role. Now, there's many things it does, but our body is designed by the Creator to produce and make hydrogen gas on its own. That's how critical hydrogen is. So the reason I developed hydrogen water starting 20 years ago was because my wife was sick. And so I wanted to help her. We've been married 31 years. The first 10 years of our marriage, she was sick. She was getting worse. And I'm like, I don't want to be 31-year-old widow.
Right.
I got to figure this out. I'm praying. I'm asking. I don't know how to do this. Where do you go when you listen to the doctors and they're saying, oh, don't eat all the food on your plate. That's why she gained weight. Why was it that I got married and within 3 months, my wife gained 70 pounds out of the blue and she was walking 3 miles a day? Well, we didn't have any idea that the birth control, which I begged her not to take, destroyed her system. She's just one of those. It destroyed
the bacteria.
Well, it destroyed everything in her system. And yes, her gut. Yeah. So we didn't know that birth control would do that to her.
Right.
And now there's many studies.
How many kids do you have?
One.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a miracle baby. That's why we only have one. 5 miscarriages.
Wow.
Yeah. So when you put all that and unpack all that, I was trying to help her because I love her and I want her around. Some people might be like, oh, that'd be fine if my wife, for me, it's not. I actually like her. Yeah. So the point in all that is I was looking for anything that would help heal her because she was going downhill, And this was right in Kissimmee, Florida, where I lived at the time, South Orlando.
Yeah, I know where it is.
And so that's where we lived. We were married and doing our thing, and she was in trouble. And it was an interesting story because back then in the early 2000s, some friends of ours had an organic food store. 9/11 had occurred. They were losing their business because people weren't coming to Disney World. People going to Disney World would go to their organic food and get organic food for their condos. Well, they lost half their business. Their company was in trouble. They came to me. I was young, 31 years old. I'd just become a millionaire from real estate. And they came to me looking for some help financially. And so I gave them some help. And they, of course, you know how it is. 3 months, I'll pay you back. Okay.
Yeah.
A year later, they hadn't still paid back. And I said, I forgive the interest. Just,
Pay the principal.
Pay the principal. And so they took another year, and they did. And as a gift to us, they took us on a cruise out of Fort Lauderdale, the Carnival Liberty ship, right? And we went on a 9-day cruise, and they brought water with them. And I thought that was the strangest thing I ever saw. Like, why the heck are you bringing a suitcase for us and a suitcase for you with 9 gallons of water, like 9 water bottles inside?
Wow.
I'm like, what the heck? And they're like, oh, you don't want to drink the water on the ship. And I'm like, I have every other cruise. Like, what the heck? And they're like, no, drink this water. This water is what saved our company. And I'm like, what are you talking about, right? What do you mean water saved? And like, people are buying water by the gallon.
You're making me thirsty.
Right? I know, right?
Yeah.
And so, can I drink out of the cool one with the 10X? Oh, love it. So
this water, both of these were turned on.
Yes. Yeah. You can tell.
It takes 10 minutes. Oh, you can tell.
Oh, yeah. I can just feel it right there, and I know it's been run.
You can feel the hydrogen?
No, I can feel that the plastic is tiny bit. Because when you press this, you can see it go right back down.
Yeah.
And the radius is proper when you go down. Yeah. But yeah. So anyways, we're on this cruise. The first day of the cruise was my wife's first day of her menstrual cycle. And normally she's bedbound for a week during her cycle. She'd lose 30, 40 ounces of blood per menstrual cycle. She was highly anemic at the time, all kinds of stuff. So I got her into our cabin. I'm going to art auctions, coming back, and she goes, hey, I'm thirsty. I need some water. And so I gave her some of that water. And she's like, oh, my body's craving this water. I can't stop drinking it. And I'm like, really? She goes, yeah, I feel something. I don't know what's going on in my body.
Wow.
And I was like, what in the world is going on, right? And so I didn't think anything of it, honestly. And next thing you know, day later, she's up and around. And I'm like, what the heck? She would have been down for a week. So I asked my friends, what's going on with this water? And they're like, we don't know. Some guy sold us this machine.
Don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. Some guy sold us a machine, says it's going to heal everything in the world. And it's true. I met him later. He's like nuts. But he says it's going to heal everything in the world. And we don't know why. And I'm like, well, that kind of scares me a little. You need to know why.
Right.
You can't just be like, here, you know.
It works.
Yeah. And so I didn't deny that it worked. I didn't deny, but I want to know the mechanism.
Right.
And I surely am not going to go tell anyone else something if I don't know at least why we think.
Of course.
So they're like, yeah, we don't know.
So the real estate guy wants to.
Right.
I want to see it.
Right. Yeah. Show it to me, bro.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you got a great deal.
Yeah.
Show me
the real estate.
Yeah. So anyways, long story short, he goes, oh, come over here. And the guy who sold me the machine, he's going to do a lecture. And I'm like, okay. So I come, this is a room of 100 people, right? He's bouncing on the ground. He's so excited about everything it does. He's like, he wins the award for every cure claim you could possibly have. So I'm patient. I wait till the end. And this guy's name is David. And he goes, oh, Paul, it's such a pleasure. I've heard so much about you. I'm like, great. I said, I have one question for you. I said, in your lecture, you talked about a lot of things, but you talked about wound healing. You said this water is the best for wound healing and all these people. I said, what feeds the fibroblasts? And he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, fibroblasts are what drops collagen down into a wound bed when you're healing it. That's the first stage, right? He goes, well, I have no idea. And I said, you lost me, because you shouldn't be talking about it if you don't know.
Yeah.
You should at least figure it out by now, right?
Yeah.
So long story short, I go on a journey. What's possibly going on? And everyone's selling this water, these alkaline water machines at the time. So that's what this guy was selling. And I said, pH has nothing to do with healing in the body. It's nonsense. The stomach acid will change that pH in a second. There's no way it's the pH.
So the 9.5 thing.
It's nonsense. And it's already been proven false in the 90s, but they keep selling it because they're making money, right?
Yeah, they make a lot of money.
They make a lot of freaking money, and it's just scamming folks. But the point is, the pH itself does nothing. There is no benefit to the human body. So I wanted to understand what it was. It took me 1.5 years to figure out that if you have hydrogen present in water, it will change the electrical potential of that water to a negative 300, negative 400, negative 600 millivolts, which
that's high. So
hydrogen.
when I'm going negative millivolts,
that's antioxidant.
Okay.
A positive electrical charge is an oxidative energy.
And I don't want oxidative.
That's right. Tap water would have a positive 600 millivolts, for example, the opposite of what you'd want for your gut.
The Kangen water, the alkaline
Kangen would have negative. And so what's interesting is
you want negative.
You do want negative.
Okay.
And so because they're using electrolysis to make it alkaline, there won't be any hydrogen, but there will be a negative ORP, what's called oxidation reduction potential. So this water that my wife was drinking wasn't Kangen water, but
these are $4,000 machines or whatever.
Yeah,
they're
the one that she had,
$4,000.
they're out of business now but it wasn't Kangen, but it was prior to Kangen.
Got it.
But it did have a negative ORP in the water, which was enough to restart her gut.
Interesting.
And she was feeling better. There was no hydrogen because I tested it and there was no hydrogen. So what I figured out, Grant, was that if you actually have hydrogen, then you have a myriad of benefits, like crazy benefits in the body, not just the ORP. So
I'm texting my daughter right now.
Yeah, you're good. Sabrina?
Scarlett.
Oh, Scarlett.
Because she started her period yesterday.
Oh.
And it's crushing her.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, I want to listen to you. And I'm I got to help my kid right now.
Get her some water quick.
Yeah. So how many of these should she drink today?
3.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I figured out is that ORP is a nice, wonderful thing, but when we actually keep the hydrogen in, so these alkaline water systems, hydrogen is present because that's what electrolysis does, but it goes right back out to atmosphere because calcium builds up on the electrodes of these machines. And so they're not able to keep the hydrogen, and so you lose the hydrogen. But when you
so let me ask you this now. So is there any value for those that have the alkaline machine to use the alkaline in this water?
No,
none,
zero.
It's
not going to benefit it anymore. It doesn't harm anything, but most of the alkaline water machines have very poor filtration, so they're not removing heavy metals, they're not removing pesticides. So it's almost worse to put that water in here.
So what water should I be using in the container?
As clean as possible. So reverse osmosis, distilled, or at least very well filtered water.
But I don't need to spend a $4,000. It's a $300 bottle.
And that will do more than the $4,000 machine.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And just buy the best.
And there's machines available, of course, that you can promote to people that will dissolve hydrogen gas and filter the water properly for half the price.
Yeah. Because that was my experience with and I've had a bunch of these machines.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They do the little tests, which the dog wants one, all the little tests. I'm like, they're all cool, dude. Like, okay, you had me, I'll take one. It was not, but a lot of people spend a lot of money on these machines. But my experience was over some period of time, all the filters, I got to bring the salt thing in. I'm like, something's
for a softener.
Yeah, something like I was not completely convinced that the alkalinization.
You were correct.
Yeah.
The pH, which stands for potential hydrogen, right? pH stands for potential hydrogen. And it's measuring the hydrogen in water. So the high pH doesn't help us. It's not good.
It's the hydrogen.
It's hydrogen.
So how much, when I take regular water out of a reverse osmosis,
perfect.
When I take that out, how much, what is the weight or the measurement of that? Negative what?
Of hydrogen or?
No, just regular water. It hadn't been
would be a positive electrical charge. The opposite
that'd
of what
be positive.
you want.
So for everybody, just so you know, you take this, you basically fill it up with water. It doesn't have any water in it when you get it.
Right.
This is a device, a mechanism.
A little tiny bit of water, but there's a tiny bit of distilled water in it to keep the membrane moist inside.
Yeah. So you'll see a drip in there. When you buy your first bottle. Yeah. But then you're going to add water.
Correct.
And you're recommending what water? Like almost.
It has to be filtered.
Okay.
And I would prefer more filtered as they can. So reverse osmosis and distilled water would be the most filtered we could theoretically get.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're buying the container and you use the water. You pour the water in. 3 of these a day. I've been drinking 4.
That's best. 6.
Yeah.
I
6 is
6 is awesome.
And then you cap it.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was.
It turned off.
Oh. And then you cap it and you turn it on right here. I've already done mine, but I'll turn it on again so everybody can see. And then it's going to have a timer.
Yeah.
And you can actually see now the bubbles coming. I don't know if you guys can see this.
Yeah, and so
Can they see it?
Yeah.
And so what's going on
what's
right
happening?
now?
Yeah.
What's going on in there is you're separating water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen gas. The oxygen is coming out the bottom. There's a little port right there, and oxygen is coming out. You can see the red light on the bottom. Oxygen, chlorine, O2, O3, and Cl2, for example, are coming out there, and only H2 gas is going into the bottle. Those are the bubbles that you see is just H2 gas. So you have H2O. The O is going out the bottom, and just the H2.
Where's it going?
Just to the air.
It's going out the bottom of here?
Yeah.
Where the red light is?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I didn't know all that.
Yeah, this is a proton exchange membrane inside where we're separating water molecules. Just the hydrogen is going in and the oxygen is coming out. That's all we want is hydrogen. Because,
oh, wow, that's cool. Dude.
Yeah, you have over 1,500 studies right now showing the therapeutic effects of hydrogen with 200 disease models so far.
So now this water then goes to my gut.
Well, first
and
it
it's
goes
doing
to your
what?
stomach.
Stomach.
And that's important that we say that because within 3 minutes of drinking it, ghrelin secretions, what's called gastric ghrelin, you have leptin and ghrelin, master hormones in the body. That goes to the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, and the brainstem in 3 to 5 minutes after drinking the water when it hits your stomach. Now, why is that important? Cognitive function, brain function. People that have tremors, they'll see tremors come down within 10 minutes typically just from the ghrelin secretions going to the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, and the brainstem. So that's the first thing that will happen. If we were to do an EEG on someone's head, you would see plasticity change. In other words, the flexibility of the brain in 3 to 5 minutes.
Wow.
32% change. So huge changes in the brain. That's the first. Then it goes through the stomach, like you were saying, through the duodenum or duodenum, into the small intestine, into the colon. And because of the electrical potential, it will change the terrain of the gut so that it's more suitable for the right bacteria. So within 2 weeks of drinking the water, people that have gluten and dairy intolerance
Gluten.
can eat gluten and dairy typically without any inflammatory response. So you're helping restoring gut terrain because now you can process the proper foods that you were supposed to be able to do.
Yeah, you want to drink it.
I know,
man.
right?
I want to be better. Like,
Yeah.
people are, like if I'm taking all these supplements
Yeah.
and my gut's not in good shape.
Yeah, it's good, expensive pee.
Yeah. Now, how is all the medication that Americans are taking? I think the average, first of all, America consumes more prescription medication. This is an
100%.
unbelievable statistic.
Right.
We,
Like 87% of the drugs
more
of the
than
world.
all the other countries combined are
Yeah.
consumed right here
That's right.
in America with 355 million people. We only represent 4 or 5% of population Earth,
Yep.
and we consume 100%
Right.
as much as all the other countries combined. It is crazy.
Absolutely.
The average, and you're not on one medication. That's the problem with the restless leg syndrome and the antidepressants. Like you guys, you're not going to be on one. You're going to be on one, then 3, the blood thinners.
Right. Blood
So,
pressure.
Blood pressure.
That's probably the number one.
Yeah. What is that doing to the gut?
It's destroying.
Now,
It's
are
the
there
same.
any
It's the same issue.
when they approve these drugs,
Yeah.
are they testing the gut?
No.
Not zero.
Why? Why they would care less about the gut? They don't want the gut to be healthy. Why would they want the gut to be healthy?
Yeah, but
Because then the issue will probably go away.
Yeah, but I mean, it's hard for me to believe that these guys are sitting around saying we want to make people sick.
Well, I don't think the individual scientists are, but I think someone at some point who very much understands the mechanism is going, yeah, it doesn't bother me so much that they'll be on that the rest of their life.
There's plenty
It
of
creates
people.
a market.
Yeah,
So they say from cradle to grave.
yeah, yeah.
And then if we're smart, right, we buy multiple companies that have a drug or a product that children and then adolescent and then adult and then geriatric.
Yeah.
And we just keep them through life. Like, oh, we love you so much. Be
Yeah.
loyal with us because
Yeah.
we created the problem and we create the fix. So I'm not teaching gloom and doom. I am telling you that it should be very obvious, and it is very obvious to a lot of medical professionals who understand organic chemistry, what's happening
Yeah.
in the body, it's not like we don't have a clue. Like, oh,
Yeah.
shoot, why is our gut so jacked up
Yeah.
in this country? But in Africa, their guts are fine.
Yeah.
And they're eating like who knows what, you know.
Yeah. So the blue zones.
Well, I don't even know a blue zone. I think it comes down to pesticides.
Uh-huh.
You look at the countries that don't allow so much pesticide use, they don't have the gut issues that we have. You look at the countries that don't genetically modify, they don't have the issues that we have. We have done it to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
If we go back 200 years, we don't have the issues. We don't have the disease models on the rise.
The ADHD, the
Don't have that.
depressants,
No.
all the suicides,
No.
like all this is increased.
That's correct.
It's not because of guns.
No.
You're saying it's because of our foods.
It's our gut.
Our gut. See, I never pay attention to my gut.
Right.
Like even when I got on the health train about 5 years ago, and then we
Sure.
bought 10X Health System.
Sure.
And I was so excited about it. And it made me feel much better. But I haven't, until the last maybe 90 days,
Yeah.
really confronted my gut with my doctor and said, look, I'm irritable. I'm angry, pissed off all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I want to.
That's definitely gut.
I want to move into
Yeah.
to battle more, you know.
Yeah.
That's gut. Sleep.
Oh, 100% gut.
Uh-huh.
So that's the main thing we hear. Memory for sure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. All that is affected by gut-brain connection.
Yeah.
So if we have our gut proper, we won't have arthritis. We won't have low mitochondrial function. We won't be sugar and carb loading. This country's sugar and carb loads because
Totally.
we can't produce enough ATP in our cells.
What's ATP?
So it's energy.
Uh-huh.
That the mitochondria, which is in every cell of our body, produces ATP. That's our energy. That's how we function.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't produce enough pounds of ATP per day based on our demand that we put on our body, we feel sluggish.
Mm-hmm.
And so that all comes from oxidative stress. And what's oxidative stress? Oxidation is normal and natural, but oxidative stress is when our cells begin to not function properly. And next will be inflammation. Inflammation is then sent in to fix the problem. But if we don't fix the problem, then the combination of oxidative stress and chronic inflammation is disease. You're
I'm not
automatically going to have a disease.
Yeah, I'm not going to feel the inflammation in my gut. I'm going to feel it in the extremities, the joints.
Well, you won't feel inflammation in your gut. You're right, because you don't have any bones and cartilage.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm feeling it in the extremities.
Your kidney, you just won't eliminate properly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you won't feel inflammation in certain organs, but they're just not working properly.
Right.
Yeah. So hydrogen.
So you're saying the
reduces all that.
arthritis, the pains, the joint issues, that's a symptom
It's all oxidative
of something you're not
stress
really
and inflammation.
oxidative stress.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's where the issues come from.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Man, you're convinced this is it, bro. Huh?
Yeah, it's real. Yeah. Well, when you look at the 1,500 studies with hydrogen, the first line will say oxidative stress and inflammation is responsible for the formation of cancer, diabetes, Parkinson's, whatever the disease is. It doesn't matter. And that's what I'm hoping people understand. And I've been preaching this since 2008, 2009, when I began talking about hydrogen. Everyone thought I was crazy. I'm like, it is the problem, oxidative stress and inflammation.
Uh-huh.
Hydrogen reduces that naturally. That's what hydrogen is supposed to be in our body.
Uh-huh.
But when we overuse antibiotics,
before technology like this, where would people get hydrogen?
naturally,
Naturally?
farts, right? Flatulence. We call it fart therapy now.
Yeah.
'Cause we know it's good for you, right? Farts are good.
But how would you produce the gas? Like
through the fermentation in the colon. So when you ferment
from
foods,
good foods.
That's right.
Yeah, when we had good foods.
And when you have the right bacteria.
Before Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's the manufacturer. Kellogg's is basically everything's become a cereal.
Of course. Everything's sugar.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Sugar.
So yeah, go ahead.
So if we have the right bacteria in the gut, they can break down foods, and aerobic bacteria breaks down sugar and carbs. And that should only be 1% to 4% of our bacteria in the gut. So that should give us a hint how much carbs and sugar we should be drinking is 1% to 4% of our diet. Then 96 to 99% of the gut bacteria should be anaerobic, fiber and fats. So the majority of our foods should be naturally occurring appropriate foods that have fiber and fatty acids. And that would be your normal foods if we were just eating. If we look back at the American diet, before all these problems, that's what they were eating, right? Mm-hmm. Butter is fat. Fat is energy. Fat is fuel for the body. Sugar is fuel, of course. It's rapid. It's like turbo.
Right.
We shouldn't need turbo all the time.
Right. Okay, so what do you say to people? Because you said people said you were crazy.
That was years ago. Now they think I'm brilliant.
Yeah.
So it just took 2 years. It just took 2 years.
Yeah. So I trust me, I've been called crazy about almost everything I've done. So what do you say to people though that say, dude, $300 for a water bottle, not even the water.
I would say
$300 is ridiculous.
I would say you're right if all it was a water bottle.
Yeah.
But it's actually a hydrogen generating unit with a proton exchange membrane and a rechargeable battery and a touchscreen. You know, how much do you pay for the iPhone?
Yeah.
Way more than $300.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, the iPhone costs less to make than this. Mm-hmm. So you don't have an issue with the iPhone costing you $1,200.
Yeah.
So, and this is a 5-year warranty, right? You know, so why are we worried about a life cycle? How many people think, oh, my iPhone's going to last me at least 5 years?
They're like, I replace my iPhone every year.
Exactly.
I get a new one every year.
Exactly. Right. We're not waiting 5 years. We're like, oh, the iPhone 17 is coming out.
Yeah.
So the point,
I just think that people don't actually value their health enough. They're like, I'll pay. I'm not paying $300 for that. I'm paying it for a phone because I value my ability to communicate with people or be a spectator more than I do my health, or I don't believe in it. Because there is a lot of hoax in the alternative space. There is a lot of fraud.
90%.
Yeah.
I would say 90. There's 10% probably valid.
So, but I mean, having your blood tested, that's not a hoax.
No, it's a feedback.
Let's talk about the things that aren't. Yeah, it's feedback. I need the data.
So here's what I would say to your comment, though, before we move on.
Yeah.
I think most people are concerned about the health, but they're completely confused. They have no idea what to actually do because they do it. They're doing what they think is proper.
Right.
And yet they're still sick.
Yeah.
They still feel like crap. So I'm confused. I don't know what to do. And the reality is it's education that's the problem. We're not telling people every bite of food you take is creating your problem.
Right.
They don't know that because...
Which could be taught in the 7th grade.
Absolutely. 5th grader, right? Our friend said everything I learned,
Yeah.
So am I smarter than a 5th grader, right? The whole point is absolutely children can understand what they should be eating and it shouldn't be sugar constantly.
Fritos, Doritos.
Everything has sugar.
Yeah.
So if we really understand what food is versus treats, that would be a good first step to understand what should go in the body as fuel, what should go in the body to make you happy and have a nice moment on Friday night when you're with your family. Okay, have a little treat. But that's not 90% of your diet, but it does become.
So, you're saying 1 to 4% of your diet being a treat is not a problem. That's when 96% of your diet is filled with garbage.
Yeah. And when you don't have the proper bacteria, for example, and you go and eat a salad because you think a salad's healthy, and then you have diarrhea because you ate a salad and you don't have the proper bacteria to digest fiber. What is that salad? It's mostly fiber. So imagine someone that's already suffering and is like, I don't know what to do. I feel like crap all the time. I got to come into work. I got to make money. They take my crap if I don't. I don't know what to do about it. So I'm going to go eat a salad because that's supposed to be healthy. And then I have diarrhea. Like, what the flip am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to do?
Why would a salad cause somebody to have diarrhea?
Because someone doesn't have bacteria to process fiber. So they're going to go eat rice and body loves it. It's a carb. Okay. And so I have bacteria to convert rice. I don't have bacteria for fiber. So I'm eating a salad that they're saying is supposed to be good. I have diarrhea. I go eat something they say is bad. I feel better. And at least I poop normally.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't get it. What's going on? And so it really is, we need to restore the gut terrain. And that beautiful bottle right there that you're giving to people, that's the story they should understand. if you want to be able to eat a salad and not have diarrhea, you want to be able to eat food that's good for you and get good nutrition, you got to restore gut terrain, and this will help with that. That's why you should spend.
How much of the problem is going to be solved just with this?
Depending on the issue, but it could be 90%.
Really?
Yeah. Because when you restore the gut terrain, you restore immune function, you restore the normal system in your body, the antioxidant systems, and the ability of your body to manage oxidative stress and inflammation. Like, that affects everything. Mm-hmm. So hydrogen is not curing. Hydrogen is supposed to be in the body. You are giving that back to them. Mm-hmm. You're giving them back hydrogen that they can't produce right now. And when the body says, oh my gosh, thank you, I can use that right now, all of a sudden, all the pathways, all the normal systems in the body are functioning again.
Yeah. So it sounds like this is going to kickstart.
Oh, it's going to fix the problem.
Yeah. Which eating the steak and the butter and it's going to be a much longer process.
No,
to me, getting
2
that.
weeks.
Huh?
2 weeks.
2
You're
weeks.
talking two. If they drink this properly for 2 weeks, you can have individuals that are no longer having issues with gluten and dairy and with other issues. So within an hour of drinking the water, the gut's already starting to be fixed.
Wow.
Within an hour.
Okay. Tell me about other things that are not frauds. Let's just talk about the not fraud things, because you're saying 90% of the space is filled with bullshit.
Yeah, mostly.
But it is an attempt, even if it is an attempt to fix a problem, right? Wouldn't you suggest that, like?
I don't know if it is.
Yeah.
Because
red light therapy.
Now, red light's different. I love red light.
Let's just talk about the things
products
that work
in that space that are amazing.
Yeah.
Red light is a fix. You can help the body with light, just like hydrogen is a fix because it's supposed to be in the body, right? Your body's supposed to produce hydrogen, but because of gut disruption, you don't. So we're replacing something that is supposed to be in the body in the first place.
Yeah.
Red light would come from the sun. All light spectrums come from the sun. Mm-hmm. So we should be outside. We should be getting light, because light is very important for the body. And light can fix things. Red light can fix things. You have different wavelengths. You need to have the right wavelengths. And more importantly, you need to have the irradiance. In other words, the milliwatts per centimeter squared on every square
strong
inch.
enough.
Yeah, and most products do not in the market.
Most of the little panels.
Yeah,
and we sell them too, by the way, for people that want entry level. But I tell people, look, bro, I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
If you're going to do this health thing, go for the top of the food chain, best in class, right?
Yeah,
you agree with that?
That's what I've created. And we can talk about it later. But the point is, the irradiance is really important. And having the right wavelengths of light are important to do certain things. But you can fix people with red light. Yes, that's not a hokey pokey.
Yeah.
What happens, and the reason I said the sweeping statement of so many things are a scam is because people will come to our industry and say, oh, red light's good. Let me go find the cheapest thing I can overseas and sell it to people at the highest price.
Yeah.
Now you've taken something that was good
and contaminated it with the cheaper.
Yeah, just like hydrogen. Hydrogen is real.
Yeah.
But 99% of the bottles on the market are scam products. They're not producing hydrogen. They're being sold as a hydrogen product, but they don't produce hydrogen. And they put chlorine and ozone in the water and very little, if any, hydrogen. And they're selling all day on Alibaba and they're selling on Amazon. Yeah. And they're telling people, well, the same thing is true with red light. Most red light products are good Christmas tree lights. Yeah. But it's not for therapy.
Right.
And unfortunately, people don't know any different because they're not educated. They'll buy it. Yeah. Just like they'll say, oh gosh, Grant's selling that thing for $2.99. I can get something for $60. Yeah. It's got to be just as good. No,
it's not. No. So you get what you pay for. So
not always, but in some cases, yes.
Not always. Sometimes you just get ripped off for what you pay for.
That's right.
So you got to do your research. This is why.
Because you can buy $300 bottles that are a scam too.
Yeah, right. So now let me ask you about the tablets.
Okay.
Because for some reason I'm like, there's something about the tablets I don't buy. Dropping the tablet in my water and having it do its thing. Why is this better or worse than the tablets?
This is far better. I'll tell you why. I was the second person in the world to sell tablets many, many moons ago. I don't like the tablets because of the taste. They have a magnesium taste because not all the magnesium is reacted in the water. So you still have that taste of elemental magnesium. So that's magnesium that's still in a reactive state, and it doesn't taste good. So people don't stay on the tablets long.
Yeah.
It does produce hydrogen. It is an effective way to produce hydrogen. The problem is the taste is not good, and it is expensive. It is the most expensive way to have hydrogen in life. So imagine,
I've heard the opposite pitch, which is it's only $3 a day. This is $300,
but this is 5 years.
Yeah.
So it would cost you, if just one human being was going to use tablets versus this, $1,500 for the same life cycle as this. So this is 1/5 the cost of tablets per day.
Yeah.
So if they want to play the game of tablets are $1 per use, then this is 10 cents per use.
And I got to carry my tablets, which I hate.
Right.
I got to carry them, store them, keep them, move them around. This I throw in my suitcase, throw it in my briefcase. I got to.
This doesn't cost you anymore to use this 3 times a day or 6 times a day.
No,
but if you did that with tablets, you'd be $3 or $6 a day.
Yeah. And the other thing, I'm just telling you, the biggest problem for me on anything is usage.
Correct.
Can I stay on it, which you brought up?
Right.
And
well, what if your daughter wants to have some too? Well, now it's another $1.
Yeah, right.
Well, I got 4 daughters, or I got a wife too. Well, do I like them enough to give them a tablet? I don't know. Like, are you important enough for me to give you a tablet? Because now, if I've got a family of 4, just for one use a day, that's $5 a day now.
Yeah.
That's $5.
Yeah.
So
I can do one bottle, share it with everybody in the family.
Like, take a sip.
Well, no, but because she just texts me and says, "Where's your bottle?"
Right.
Because I have one at the office, at the house, and one here.
Right. And here's the good news: it doesn't cost you any more for her to use it.
That's right. That's right.
She can use it. Your wife can use it. Your friend, whoever can use it. It doesn't cost you any more because it's a captive cost.
Yeah. Okay. Supplements. When I said supplements, you said most of them are overrated, don't work. I mean, we're a big supplement business. We do our precision genetic supplements.
Supplements are different quality. And if someone's not properly hydrated, the supplement isn't going to do anything. It's going to be expensive pee.
Yeah.
You have to be properly hydrated for any supplement to work. And people don't know that. They just think, I just throw this in and it fixes my problem. The reality is it's not fixing a product, it's a Band-Aid. And so this is something that's not a Band-Aid, but there are people that are going to need supplements because they're not going to eat a whole food diet. They're not going to get that ingredient that supplement has through food.
Right. Maybe who would that be? Somebody's traveling.
People that are not disciplined.
Maybe you're working in a hospital.
That's right.
You're working in a hospital. You're there 12 hours. You're in a health clinic, by the way. But there is no good foods around. Right. You cannot find good foods in a hospital, period.
I guess what I'm saying is, like, people say, I need vitamin C. Well, you can get that from an orange, right? You can get vitamin C.
Yeah.
But 90% of the things on the market that say they have vitamin C are ascorbic acid. That's not vitamin C.
What is that?
It's a manufactured thing that is called vitamin C now.
And I thought that was vitamin C. I can't tell you. I've taken, now I haven't taken any of those in 5 years.
Right. Vitamin C you can get from an orange, and that's actual vitamin C. But ascorbic acid isn't really vitamin C. So this is where I'm saying people need to be educated on what they're actually getting in their body that's called this or called that. And some of it's very good. Some things are very, very good, and some are not. And so it takes education, which people typically are not willing to do. And so it's a problem.
You seem like a straight up dude, though. Like I know a lot of people in this space. They're hawking, selling everything.
Listen, I wish I didn't have to sell these.
Yeah,
I wish I didn't.
Yeah,
I wish people's gut was working properly, so they wouldn't have disease models.
Yeah,
I would find something else to do. There's no end to what we can do to make money, as you know.
Yeah,
I didn't have to create the first company to do hydrogen water. I did it because I helped my wife, and after I helped her, I said, I bet you there's a lot of other people. Now there's millions of them that are using Echo water for years now, right? So But I have no problem doing something else. If all of a sudden everything was fixed and people didn't have the need because they're producing their own,
Right.
great. Let's go do something else.
How long before you think somebody sees a difference?
3 minutes, 5 minutes. Depends on what you're talking about, though. If it's ADHD, if it's ADHD or it's mental or it's not having proper clarity, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Yeah. And
but where I'm consistently like, okay, something has changed in my body now. That can't be 3 minutes.
Well, you mean
even though I got to tell you, dude, like the first couple of ones
my brain is more clear.
Huh?
I'm telling you, I can take someone with tremors, and in 3 minutes, their hands are still, and they're going, "What did you just do to me?"
Yeah,
that's a difference.
Well, that is a difference, but. And as much as I'm a big sales guy, I promote, you know, like get my deal. But I'm just telling you guys, the water, when I had this water, I told my wife, I said, I noticed the difference.
And my wife did too. That's why I'm here, right?
But when is my body?
It depends
on
60
trillion cells.
Depends on what you're talking about. If we're talking about joint issues.
Yeah, joint issues.
Within the first day.
Energy issues.
Pretty quick. Like within an hour.
Bro, give me like 3 days. Like, give me 3 days of this. 12 bottles. What happens after 12 bottles?
After 3 days?
Yeah.
Well, now your digestion is really, you're going to notice a difference.
Yeah.
Your joint issues, you really will notice difference. Like, that normally hurts to get out of bed in the morning, or that normally
That's
this,
gone.
or I don't know. Or it's 2:00 and I'm not looking for a bed.
Yeah.
Where I can lay down. That's interesting. Or people that work out, those will be the fastest because they know their body. And when they go to work out, their recovery times are at minimum half, sometimes only 10% of what they were used to. I just had a guy, Elliot. He's the human performance guy for the 49ers. Okay. He got a bottle, sent him one. He calls me 2 days later. 2 days later. This is what I'm saying. 2 days later. And he goes, all my devices that are monitoring me are saying my sleep was significantly better starting the day that I drank my first one. And all my recovery times are significantly less. He goes, what the heck's going on? Wow. And I said, well, let me explain to you what happened in your body. And he goes, I feel so different. I just had my fourth daughter, my child, right? I haven't been sleeping. And all of a sudden I feel amazing. He goes, I want my 8 top players on the 49ers to have it. So we shipped them, right? So they all have it now.
Yeah.
And he's like, they're all loving it. They're like, what the heck's going on? My workouts are different. Everything's different. What I want people to understand is I didn't create hydrogen. I just got it back into your body.
Right.
You should be producing your own hydrogen, but because of gut disruption, you don't. So normally, what does that mean? We wouldn't have the need for all the stuff we're taking because we would do it naturally.
Yeah.
And so the difference is what your body is supposed to do, you lost that ability without knowing you did. We're going to give it back to you.
Is there a better option than this water bottle to produce hydrogen?
No, not at all.
Okay, guys, and we have a special offer for you. Just because you guys know I'm going to get to this. 10xhealthsystem.com/water. Special offer for you there. That bottle, it's a good looking bottle, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
How you like our packaging?
It's gorgeous.
It's sexy, right?
Oh, I remember taking that down to GrowthCon.
Yeah.
And being like, here you go. I go, this is sexy, bro.
No, it's sexy and we know it. And but most importantly, I noticed a difference. If I don't believe in something, it's a real estate deal. I don't promote real estate deals that I don't believe in. And I just got off the phone with a massive real estate guy.
Nice.
This is a $15 billion call.
That's good.
And
that's a good call.
That's a good call. And he's like, you have created a package of real estate that is like everybody knows what you've done now.
Oh yeah.
And your investor base is quality too. So it's very, very important, and I'm just saying this, I really admire that you produce something that's super quality for the right reasons. Yeah. And, does it cost something? Yes, of course it does. But it costs something to stay sick. And so I want to do this more often with you learn when you start discovering other things and running other stuff. I'm very highly interested in the space. I don't understand the body. I think I missed my biology classes or I was smoking weed that day.
Chemistry.
I was a terrible student and I had a lot of bad influences in my life when I was a kid. But when you were talking, I was like, why don't kids get taught that Fritos don't actually convert and sugars aren't converting
And really the biggest problem with food.
Why isn't that in a class, man?
Because those companies would have a fit.
Yeah.
And they control a lot of things.
This is great.
Yeah.
I want to have you back.
Thank
okay.
you,
This
brother.
was fantastic.
Yeah.
I did not know about you. And then when we got on this, I said, hey, I want to meet Dr. Paul. So
Yeah.
really appreciate you.
Pleasure.
Tell your wife hello. I'm so glad
Will
that she's
do.
doing better.
Yeah.
And if you get more discoveries, more things,
Yeah.
I want to share them with the audience. All right.
Love that.
Okay. Thank you.